Hey everybody, Merry Christmas. We're almost there. We're almost there. Welcome, welcome. Today we're gonna do a scene again. This week I didn't have class, so this is you guys are gonna be my guinea pig again, and that's always okay. I'm gonna see what I can do. This is gonna be an interesting one because I haven't even thought about it, and so a lot of times I like to go over it in my head. But so we're gonna do this all together. And today's beer is called Four Sixes Grit and Glory. Excuse me, I need to have a drink of this. And so let's see what this is like. This is an amber lager. So let's pour it in here really nicely so I can get a drink of it right away since I'm coughing here. And cheers, everybody. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Very good. I'm gonna give that a 10. That's really good. I don't know where it comes from. I think in California or something, or Texas. It says something. Heritage runs deep. And it's a thing of Texas, but it says California. So, cheers, everybody. Hope you all have a great holiday coming up this weekend. And let's see who's all here. Hey, Katrina, Maria, Jean, Kathy, Pamela, Barbie, Sue, Barbara. Thanks, guys. And so let's get going because I have to really work on this one. I haven't, like I said, I haven't even looked at this one. I've been so busy trying to get ready for the holidays and so decorating. Don't ever use inside lights outside. I used some new inside lights on the outside, and they burnt out when it started raining. I shouldn't have done it. It was really, really cool for a little bit. I'll have to show you guys on my Facebook page. Anyways, let's go over here to my website. Anybody who wants to see anything that's going on with me, go to my website. I still haven't put anything on there about Sunday mornings and stuff. I have to do that. But somebody was asking me this week also again about my newsletter. My newsletter, you just sign up right there. Sign up right there. Put your name and email, and it'll sign you right up. All right. And if you want to contact me and ask me a question, you do that right down here at the contacts. And so my supplies we're using are my brushes and my Holbein paints. My paper is all good. No masking fluid today because we're going to be using a lot of white paint today. We're going to make it snow big time. Here's my value study and my black and white no tan. And basically, right down the middle, everything down the middle is going to be light. And on both sides, including the carolers. And I'm not even sure if these are carolers, but we're going to make them carolers because it is, holidays. And we want to kind of get the music going on here. Actually, I have music playing today. But I thought about doing that, but I think that's we're having enough trouble with my voice, making sure it's loud enough. Then I want to drown it out with some music. But that would be kind of cool, putting some music in the background. I usually paint with music when I'm in my studio. It just really helps a lot. I really like working with music. Anyway, I didn't explain this. I did, I think. So you're going to go and let me put this thing in front. And so basically the light, like I said, is all through here. And basically from the left and the right comes in darks. And again, like I talked about in my newsletter this week about values and making your values light black and white, and making things that are very difficult easier. So I know there's a lot of things happening in here, like windows and such, but you could always make it like this where there's nothing happening in there, but you just make it dark, and you could put a wash like that in there. So that's not a problem ever, because that's not my center of interest over here. My center of interest are the people, are the carolers. And I just looked up carolers right before I got on. I went to look at what they wear. The little long dresses for the ladies with this like little shawl thing over them, and really top hats for the guys. And so we're gonna put some of that in there. And I actually drew that in, kind of like that. You'll see in my drawing. All right, let's go to our tabletop and get going here. And so as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see this, but if you go look closer, what I do with the come on, focus in. Come on, focus in my hand. I gotta figure out these cameras a little better. I've been trying to work on the cameras. And so if you can see, I put a little shawl on them and little hats and so all that kind of stuff. But that's all gonna be it's all gonna be good. And I don't know if in the picture they are carolers, but because it's so much snow over covered on top of them, which is okay. So that's kind of good. So if your drawing is not great with the carolers, that's fine. You just go crazy with the snow. We're doing a lot of snow on top of there. All right, and let's ask questions as you go along. And this is a very good beer. This is a number 10. 4 sixes. Ah, very good. Very good. Nice tasting beer. And not sweet, but really good. All right, so what do? We start with the lights, right? And again, this will be the second to last one this year. And so next week, they're a little bit harder, more difficult because I'm doing people and stuff like that. But in the beginning of the new year, we're going to start out fresh again to do some really simple stuff and really get in there and start from the scratch and from one color. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put everything in the middle. And I'm going to make this really sloppy, this picture, because I want it to snow in this picture. And so I want to put the background, and I'm going to use white, definitely. And right over here, I put in a little English, what do you call those, phone booths. And instead of what was there, I couldn't tell what was there. It's just this round type of thing. It's kind of, I'm not sure what that is. And so I just made it a phone booth. I thought it was kind of neat. Sound like the train's coming in behind me. All right, so let's use a little bit of, I'm going to use some cool colors in the background. And actually, should I go warm? See, this is what I would have figured out in my class today, but we've canceled classes for the rest of this December. So let's make cool. Let's make it cool back here. And I'm spattering it down because I wanted to have a lot of snow. A little bit of lavender in there. This is my lights. And I'm gonna just spatter the heck out of it. I'm actually even gonna spatter some white into that too, just because I want it very. Oh my gosh! I just splattered over my screen. I have a bunch of white snow on my screen now. Okay, let's just get in here and just see the lights. You don't have to worry about the darks because that's going right through. So just go through all this and through the snow that you're gonna be doing. And so I'm just going to get a little bit of violet in here. And to dull down a violet, you use a little bit of orangey yellow or yellow. I'm just going to get snow in here again, and that also went on my screen. I'm going to have to wipe off my screen later on. Holy smokes. I've got a speckled screen right now. A little bit more color. You know, make it nice and wet. Make it super wet and get in there with some, snow colors, which would be light blue, purples. This is like my light. This is my light. And I like to have it spatter because I want particles. And later on, I will actually snow do the same thing, but with pure white. But right now, this is just the light color that's going to be the snow coming down. And it is a little bit darker back here because it's like the snow's coming down. You can see a little bit of imagery back there. So you can also use a little bit of black to dull it, which I know is a no-no for some people, but I don't mind it. Tap maybe a little bit here and there. Let me spray the back because I've been doing this. I haven't been working on board and I haven't been taping it down. So it's been curling up. So I'm just going to spray the back of it just to wet it down so it doesn't curl back up. Now I don't have it on a board, but it still will stay flat because then that side's wet too. But this will keep it flat. And if you're ever using 140, that's what you do. You wet the back. That way you don't have to. I'm using 300 pound, but it still does a slight curve if I don't tape it down. But it will never wrinkle now because both sides are wet. And now I'm doing wet into wet, and I'm just having fun getting the lights and putting some fun colors in there. Yeah, this is so, I love spattering, as you can tell, right? And as you go to the edges, I noticed that I want to have it a little bit darker, right? I want to make it a little bit darker. So let's go right away and make some of these parts darker blue. And even my red phone booth will be fine. Like, where's the lightest spot going to be? Right in here by the people. So I'm going to keep that a little light. And there's also going to be lights in there. I probably should have put some masking fluid there to keep some of the lights, the actual light that's lighting up the whole place. Because this is in the evening, let's say, and the lights are the only thing that are lighting this whole scene up. So let's now go into our middle tone. And if you have questions, I haven't been looking up why spatter and then use your brush. I thought spatter was to be dotty. Yeah, I just want a few of the little dots to sit there, so that it just has, it's like granulation basically is what I'm trying to get. And the white will be where I won't go back in with the brush, but this I'm just kind of manipulating it and just getting some of it and let some of it bleed and make it more granular. So I think it's just to get out of my system too. I just like spattering. So sometimes it's just me wanting to do that. It's not so much like the parts will be a little here and there, and they're in water, so they're gonna probably kind of go. They're not gonna be dots anyways until it dries. But it gives me that great feeling of just controlling it, putting it down. So yeah, it's not really that important that I'm getting the dots as I'm getting the granulation happening. I'm trying to separate some of the granules of the and then I also have to make sure that parts are a little bit lighter and darker, and so some parts that maybe I don't want those little dots in there, and they're gonna go into the wash anyways and kind of just spread out. But good question. Yeah, it's kind of a thing I just do. Put some of the middle tones in while I'm doing it while it's still all wet. A lot of this paint is gonna be all done while it's wet, because I want just soft edges, and then I'll wait for everything to dry, and then I'll go in there with the hard edges. And so now I'll get a little bit of darker color here, a little warmer now as I'm coming in the foreground. And as you can see in my picture above, that the darks are coming in from the side, right? And so I'm just gonna put the middle tones in now. Put them in from the side. And basically, the lighting is the street lights, so that's gonna determine where some of the shadowing goes and the people. I'm gonna make a little bit of a wet street. I know it's a snow-covered street, but part of it I'm gonna make almost like you can see part of the street, and so I'll put little reflections into the street, so that makes it look like there's no snow, but that's okay too. I don't have to have everything snow. I just like reflections too into the street, like straight down. That's always fun too sometimes. Makes it look wet. Basically, makes it look wet. Here are some dark cars. And this is all going to dry light, right? Because I have so much water, not that much pigment, so it's going to dry pretty light. And we talked about that last week, about, you know, the amount of pigment you use determines how much it stays and how much it goes back to the white of the paper, or lighter, making it look lighter. There. A little bit more blue over here, because this is going to be the blue that's going to be the snow, the color of the snow on the tree. The tree itself is going to be really dark, right? It's going to be almost black and green. So happy winter solstice. Same to you, Dawn. Hi, Tina. Yeah, I love starting paintings like this, where you just get in there and it's almost like you're doing more of an oil, because in the oils, a lot of times you do that. You just cover up a lot of area and you get kind of messy, which I like sometimes, and then you go on top. But since this is my lights, I can get messy with it, and I can have fun with it and go through things, and because everything that goes on top of it gets to be darker. So I'm just kind of figuring out all the little patterns and the middle tones. And that's when you get all those beautiful soft edge washes too. So let's put in some of our middle tone now. That's a little bit thicker. And so like the trees up here, let's just start from the top and go down, or from back to front basically. And so I'm just going to take some of the darker colors of gray. I'm actually going to use some of this Vertider blue and dull it down with a little bit of orange. And I'm just going to tap in here and get some of those tree branches, maybe even some Prussian blue. Some green even, some purple. Just going to tap it down in here. And it's all really wet, so depending on how much pigment you put on there, sorry, you can't see that when I'm right above the camera. So you can see I'm just going to tapping down and trying to get some of the foliage to look like a little bit darker. Tap it down in on your towel to get rid of the water, but then just use pure pigment and get in here. Going around some of this. It's purple, that's Prussian blue, this is brilliant violet. With a little bit of yellow or gold, Carnacum gold to make it, this is like tree-like. You can all do this, this is fun. This is super fun, working wet into wet. Now I know it seems like it's really complicated, but this is probably going to be the easiest one you do because it's a lot of soft edges and you're going to cover it all with snow. So it's going to be a big snowstorm here in a little bit and you're going to just cover up everything with snow. So if there's something you don't like, you're just going to take white and just going to cover over it. Simplify your complicated subject matter. You know, I mean, I did this so late into the year because a lot of people are scared of doing the drawing of something this complicated. There's a lot of drawing in here, but you don't have to make all the drawing if you don't want. You can just go for the big, again, the big picture of values, and then you just make sure the center of interest is nice and detailed, and the rest just let it be. And this is my middle tone. This is not my darks yet. This is my middle tone. So I'm getting the middle tone in here. So some of this is even looks still pretty dark. But the darks will make the lights look even lighter. Here's a little bit of this through here. I'm going to go around there's stuff happening back here. Again, I knowing that it's going to be darker later, I just go through things. I don't have to go around stuff. If there's a car right here, just go right on it. And I'll make the dark parts of that car darker later. Even the red that's going to be on here, I can make it right over top of that. Now way back there's this really beautiful blue back here, so let's do that. I really see that back there. I'm just going to put that really nice blue back here and then make it look like maybe trees and foliage. And this will all hang together because of the snow. You know, it's the savior that we can have it. We can make it the snow just cover up, again, we can cover up the snow. We can cover up the picture with snow, and it really makes things look cool. No pun intended. So here we go. We got a little blue in there. Love that bright blue in the background. So background cool blues, and as you come forward, we're gonna have these people in red and, you know, beautiful capes, and so that's gonna be kind of neat. Here I put a couple little awnings up in this village. There's a van right there, which will not be identified very well. That's okay. We don't need to identify that much. We just need to have the people in there to. They're going to be the darkest dark and against the lightest light, which will be right here. Let's go up on this side now and do these. The dark blue for the light snow. This is actually the shadows of the snow. This is not the tree yet. I'm just putting in a shadowing for the snow. Shadow for the snow first. This is the snow. The shadowing part of the snow. Questions? Cheers, everybody. Next week I'll have to have a next week will be almost New Year's, so all right. Oh man, isn't this fun? This is fun to do. Now I probably shouldn't have made that dark right there because that is really light compared to the dark. That's okay. All right, so let's go into our darks now. This is still our middle tone. And to get our darks, I want to make the darks a little bit more detailed. So let's work with the background ones first, because they can be soft edge, so they're out of focus. And again, if you use enough paint and take away the water out of your brush, you can, even though it's really wet, you can make pretty nice lines and it'll stay. Like here, look at that, I'm making a little tree there. It will stay as lines because there's a lot of pigment in your brush. I'll do a little person back here. I'll get all these trees over here. Again, use enough paint. You have to use enough paint, dab onto the towel to get rid of the water, and then go into your wet wash. This is really wet. Everything is super wet. You know, you saw me. I mean, I wet a lot of it, and so now I'm going to get a lot of these trees. Let's make them a little bit more brown, a little bit orange into the blue. Orange and blue will make a great brown. And then we get the branch coming out here. Here's another tree. This one can be a little bit more blue. Use a lot of pigment. Don't use that much water. That's what I find most people do is they use way too much water. When everything is wet, then go in with pure pigment. You don't have to worry. Go in with pure pigment and just. And this is all wet, so it's gonna give you soft edges, but you can still get the edges hard enough to control to make them look like something, to make them look like a tree or here's a person. So I'm just gonna go around there, do a little bit dark underneath here. And I'm not being, this again is more of a middle tone than it is a dark. I'm not going super dark yet. Maybe a back window of the van. Let's go in here and make this a little bit darker. Remember I said before these are all darks, so just make sure that all this dark is going to be darker than what's in the middle. So I'm just going to go in here and make all this a little bit darker. It's all wet still. And I also can make texture if I want to spray it with like a spray bottle, with one of those shooting spray bottles that makes little dots in there. You can do that. Salt you can put in there if you want a certain texture. Salt would probably be a good one to use in here, but I'm just not a big fan of salt. But if you would like to use salt to get texture, that'd probably be perfect timing on something like this. Sometimes my drawing is so covered by the midtones that I lose it. What to do? Yeah, that's where your drawing skills come in really handy. So yeah, you have to, you know, again, sometimes when you're cut, like I don't see any of my like his middle tones. I don't see any of my lines anymore. So you can either wait for it to dry, or you have to kind of make things up. And that, again, yes, is hard. But the more you work on learning how to draw, then you just draw with your brush. You go in here, and I just know that there's these awnings I put in there. And how important is it that these are perfect over here anyways? So just assume that all the places where it's not that really important over here, it is the people. So if you lose it there, you may have to put it back in later on. But for something like that, like a tree or the branches, that's, you know, to make it up so that it doesn't really affect it that much. It won't affect a good or bad painting if you have the tree off a little bit or the window's not in the right spot or you just let everything bleed together. That's all good because it shouldn't be, you know, that important anyways. Unless you're doing a hyper-realism painting, then yes, you go in there and make sure it's exactly like the photo. But if you're impressionist, then, you know, make an impression of what that is, that area. It doesn't have to be exact. And this is still going to get really light over here. And I will be able to see, a lot of times because it's transparent paint, if you have a middle tone, you'll be able to see the line afterwards. So make sure you also make your line a little bit darker when you draw it in the beginning too. Because it is transparent paint, right? And so it should be able to, you should be able to see it because it's transparent. And you see the line work because it's dark. There's a little bit of a dark right here, and then it kind of comes down here. As also, you notice that I'm using a lot brighter purples than I am using the gray kind of colors in the picture above here. Because that's pretty gray up there, right? I mean, that's pretty gray, kind of like a bluish green and very dull gray. I'm using more of a purple dark, and so it's up to you what you want to use. You know, as long as it's dark, I really just worry about you getting enough pigment and making it dark enough, because that really is important. More important to me. I mean, especially at the stage when you're learning, is you have to go with the values, not so much worry about the color so much. Here I'm going to put some street lines in here, like the cars went through here. Like it's actually more of a street, and it's being covered with snow and a lot of stuff happening here. It's really basically covered with snow, and it's probably not even a street, but I'm making it a street. Let me see, was it more of that for that question? Nope. All right, so now over to this side. I'm gonna use my big brush because I want to get in there with some, again, middle tones to darks this time. I'm gonna go with some pretty dark darks on this side. And also on this side, I'm just gonna put some really Prussian blue, permanent violet, and I'm gonna go in there and just dab it like this and make foliage. And also make around the snow piles that I had there. At the same time, put them over here because I want to make sure that it's the same on both sides. And look at how long my paper's been wet. It stays pretty wet when you really soak it. And actually, I'm getting some weird things happening in there. Okay, let's go in here, and I go underneath the snow, the lines where what I do is I draw in the shape of the snow, and then I put the dark around the snow. You know, the branches can stick out, but the snow, I go around the snow, and so I'm basically negative painting in the snow. And that's kind of tricky. I know a lot of people have a hard time with that. So just think of it as painting around the snow. Like, don't touch the snow. Don't touch the white snow with your green branches. And that's what the only thing I can say that I think that will help a little bit when you're trying to learn how to do negative painting. It's like the snow is the blue that's underneath it. Don't go on top of it. Don't touch it with the green because the green is underneath the snow. So you're leaving the snow. And if you don't know where the snow is, make sure you have lines around it so you know exactly where the snow is going to be at. Put a little purple into this green. Green and purple. Purple makes it really a nice green, I found. It really brings the nice dark kind of earth tony greens. And then as they go back, they can be a little bit more bluish green. And I'll put a little ultramarine in that. And you notice how I'm just poking down with my brush. I'm kind of going like this. And that way I just kind of dabbing, and it's kind of releasing the bristles and making more of a like leaves, because I'm going straight down a little bit, and I'm kind of, my thing is not straight anymore. If you look, they're all kind of frilled out, but I want that. I want it to look like that. Here I'm going underneath the snow again too. And this is not only for pine trees. This is all for any kind of trees. All trees have leaves or pine needles, and so it's all good. And I know this looks really dark right now, but that's okay because we're gonna be doing a lot of snow in this scene. I can't wait for that. I love that part. I'm going around the top of the snow too. See how I'm not worried about details? I'm not so worried about all the little details. I'm worried about making sure I get the nice darks in there. This is like bushes that have some snow on it, like blue back here. And let's just bring this together. That's gonna be kind of lighter. See, it's a little bit lighter. I didn't make it as dark. I can make it textury, and I'll go in there later with the more detailed dark for the branches and such like that. I went into pure blue, tapped down the water. Again, if your paper is wet, you don't need to put water in your brush. You can use pure pigment down here, and it'll give you more texture. All right. So Marsh asks, pencil lines sometimes are too light to see even fine. So what you say about transparency, no matter if you're at the mid-tone stage, you can still see. I need to use darker pencil lines. Yeah, that's what I suggest, is that definitely use the make darker pencil lines, because again, you're using transparent watercolor. So transparent watercolor is gonna be, it's gonna be transparent, so you should be able to see your lines through there. Now look at how light everything got in here. And so amazing how light when you're not using, look at all the splashing I did, and here I got some of the texture in there. But my edges are not quite as dark as I would have liked. So I'm gonna go in here again with some grays and do some more just big washes, because I need that composition to work. If you don't have that, it doesn't give you the lighting. It doesn't give the effect. I need to have the light dark. I need to have the darks dark and the lights light. That is so important. I cannot stress that enough. At the end of the year, I'm going to say that's the most important thing that I want to definitely stress is that you have to follow your value pattern. The pattern, and I notice that's probably one of the things I would say for most people that are beginners. When I look at your work, I see you miss that. You don't get the big value patterns. And to show the certain kind of lighting, you need to do that. You need to get in there because that's what you established in the beginning. So you have to follow that. There's no getting around it. You have to follow that. If it looks good, like if you did your value study where it didn't seem like it wasn't exactly the greatest value pattern, then yeah, then you're following it, but you didn't do it dark enough. But make it dark enough, really, and then follow it. I know some people just do it and then they don't even look at it afterwards. But look at it and just determine that you need to do that. And there are times I don't do that myself, and I think to myself, "Oh, I can do it. It's no big deal. I know I'm going to do the value patterns right," but I don't. And then I just did that with 2 of the paintings I just did for TWSA, Transparent Watercolor Society. And boy, I struggled with those paintings because I thought I did the value study and I did all the things, but I didn't follow it well enough. And then later on, in my value pattern that I didn't do it well enough because it didn't work out well enough because I didn't do big areas. So I changed it like 3 times the background because it wasn't working. But now it worked, and I submitted it last week. And so we'll see. I'm not going to show you that painting because I don't want to jinx it yet. That's going to be is my work that I've been trying to get into TWSA for the last 2 years. Haven't been able to get in. And I've gotten in 9 times, and so I need to get my 10th time. And I just have not been able to do it. The last 3 years, or last 2 years, I have not gotten in. So I'm just going to try my hardest this time. All right, so now dark details, right? We got our big mediums, our big darks too, our big dark areas, but now we do dark details. Dark details are usually what they say. It's all the details. It's the branches, it's the people, it's everything that's dark. And that's detailed. And so I'm going to just start over here on the left and just, there's a couple of branches in here. And now look at how thick I get. I take Prussian blue, I take a little bit black, and I get thick. I'm using my small round brush to create the shapes because these are small and big branches. In the background here, there's a big tree right here actually I'm going to put in. I figure put the trees in because that's easier than putting in the background all the buildings. But I will still put some of the building stuff in there too. There's actually some windows back there, and so what I can do is I can just fake some structures in there by just putting like little windows I think I see back there. There could be people on the street back. Oh, that's the van. Let's put a little window in here for the van. It's all way too green though, and I want to make it warm, so don't be afraid to put some warm colors in that. Meaning that try to change it kind of brownish, and that's fine. This is the foreground, so I can get a little bit more darker, and I can get here. So I get higher. See, I'm just kind of going in, getting details. Now, every time I do a painting, I do the same again and again and again, and I hope you notice that. That it doesn't matter if I'm doing something for myself in the studio, I'm working in a demo, I always do it my 3-step process. It's just I came up with a 3-step process only because that's what I was doing all the time, and I started realizing that I have to start teaching it that way because hey, that's the way I do it, and I didn't even realize I was doing that. So I just broke it down to like that's what I do. Each step is the 3 steps: the lights first, the mediums and large darks, then the dark details. Dark and light details too. Light details also. The name of the beer today was 4 Sixes Grit and Glory Amber Lager. Very good too. It gave me a 10. It's a very, very good beer. I am. Thanks, Maria. I hope I get in this show. I really do. I really like what I did, so I'm crossing my fingers. But you never know. It's all the judges. We have to let the judges do their thing. Let's see. That shouldn't have been as dark right back there. Get a lot of branches, and I'm working it really, really dry. My brush has pure pigment, and because it's still damp, my paper is still damp. I still got some wetness to it. And these tree branches, I'm using Amislone brown, or you can use orange and purple. Orange and purple also gives you kind of a brown. As blue and purple, or blue and orange also give you kind of a little bit of a brown. Brown, I always said, is like purple and brown are like cousins. You know, they're very close related. Very, very closely related. Let's get some blue, dark blues in here. And see how I'm not being super, I'm not even looking at the picture. I'm just kind of making this part up because, you know, as long as it's trees, I have a drawing in there. The trees are going down to this spot. And then I'll throw some dark into this area. That would be, that's snow, so that would be shadowing. Get my bigger brush. Throw this down a little bit. Tap it a little bit. All right, let's go back here again. Look at your palette a lot of times and see how watery it is. You know, I notice when I go to classes, your palette is so much water in it, and it's okay if you're putting enough paint there. But I always look for parts that are not so watery, so I can just take a little bit of that paint, or a lot of that paint without that much water, so I can get in and get those lines. You know, and even though it's wet, if it's thick enough, I can still make somewhat of a line in there. Now I should get this. Let's take some red here now and make it thick. Tap it down, put it down, and then it's still wet. But I'm just going to take pure red. Go in there and get this little phone booth. Again, it's detailed, and see it's wet, it's just bleeding in the bottom. That's fine. That's okay. Let it bleed a little bit. It's not my center of interest, so if I'm off a little bit, maybe I make this car back here a little red too, so I have to red somewhere else. I did put red over here on the awning too. I put some awnings over here with little red stripes. That's cool. A little bit of spots there. Let's put the red down the middle, and then inside this will be a little bit darker. Let's make this car back here. I've got a car back here. Let's make that a little bit dark. Detailed. Dark underneath here. I didn't put any of the light posts in yet. I'll put them in later. They're going to be very important. TBSA is a great show to go see if you ever get a chance. It is a great show. It's up in Kenosha. It's a super fun show. How do you take the photo of your work for submission? Any tips on photos if it's difficult to do? My paint dries faster than I realize. Need more water than you think? Yeah, it also depends on where you're at. You know, if you're in a really hot zone, like maybe down in Florida where it's very hot and dry, or maybe like in Arizona, there it dries very fast. But like if it's raining that day, it all depends on what the atmosphere is like in your studio too, and how fast it dries. But that's something you feel. As the more and more you paint, you really know how much paint you need to put down, or you spray it with your mister. You know, take your mister and just spray it once in a while. It's more of a mist. All right, so let's get the people now. So the people, I will start from left to right, and what I like to do first is I like to go in there and get the flesh tone. I'm just going to tap it where the head would be, where you kind of see the heads. That way, you know, they're all dark. Everybody's dark because they're silhouetted. They're the light's behind them, so they're all going to have, you know, dark clothes on. Even though you may put a red or green, dark green for them and stuff, but they're going to be silhouetted basically. And they got mittens on, and they got the little muff things they put in. You know, the carolers do with their hand muffs. And so we're gonna get all that kind of stuff. And so let's start out with some nice top hat for this guy. You know, he's out there with his top hat singing carols. He's getting to the next part. So he's gonna be really dark suit. Again, it doesn't have to be that detailed, really, because like I said, the thing I liked about this painting a lot is that you don't see exactly what's going on because there's all the snow going on, and that will come in a second after we get these nice little people in here, long suit coats or maybe long jackets. They can have long jackets too. The women have long dresses. And you notice how I just go with one color. Yes, you can go with red and such, but I want to get it dark. I just want to make sure I get it dark. And I can always put the red in there later and on top of the dark. I need to get the look of the values. Remember, values. And I know you won't be able to do, like, copy it exactly because it's hard to see what they're actually doing. So you're going to make it up, or, you know, if you really need to make it look like something, then type in, like I did, I typed in carolers, and then you can just, you know, draw some of them into your scene. But really, it isn't that important. You know, just give it long dresses and lots of color later. Like I'm putting a little red in here. But again, it is, like I said, it is where they're going to be covered up with snow, so you can fool them. You can do a lot of fooling. Here I put a little muff, maybe an orange, like right in the middle there, a little muff that they have their hands in. A little shadowing. They hold their beer in their hand. That's good, yeah. You gotta keep their beer cold and their hands warm. Here's another top hat. And I'm using my number 8 round brush to do this part. It's a little bit smaller, so I'm using a smaller round brush. Let's make this lady really a little bit redder. And then, you know, there's the white fur trim around that. You can put that in there too, but I'm going to do that all with white paint. I'm not going to worry about that. And I'm going to use white paint for the snow, so just go in there too with things like the muff and the little, what do you call it, neck things, handkerchiefs, not handkerchiefs, a scarf, like maybe a fluffy scarf. Top hat. It's an impression again. Again, if you're doing it photorealism, then you better make sure the drawing is right on. And again, draw really dark, hard lines. If you're going to do it really dark and you're doing a middle tone really dark, then you're going to lose it. So I'm going to put a little bit of orange underneath these eaves here, just to make it look like they're on, like they're lit up. That doesn't look good. Should have done that with the first wash. Put that in there. And the truck basically is gone. I had a truck I drew in there, but that's gone. So we're not going to have a truck there. It's just underneath the... And let's put a little bit of that color over here too, to make it look like it's like lit up. The windows inside are lit up a little bit, and maybe inside in the phone booth it can be lit up a little bit with orange. And then I am going to make some parts really dark in there too, so that like where the actual phone is, that can be dark, and a little shelf in there. And I'm sorry I got away from the people. I'm so ADD. I can't keep on doing the same thing over and over again. That's like I can never do like the really tight stuff, because I do this really tight stuff and I get really bored, or it's driving me nuts, and so I have to go on to something else that's a little bit more, bigger, like branches and and a sign and a telephone pole. And sometimes you do have to go back in and redraw. If you lose something and you really have to make sure it looks like something, then just redraw it. Go back in and redraw it. You can do it, just make sure the painting is dry. Look at how they're all walking down the street. Oh, it's so clean right now. It doesn't look like snowy, right? There's no blizzard going on, but I want that. That's like the only reason I did this painting, because I want the blizzard to come. And it will be coming. The blizzard will be here in a little bit. And now there is a lot of dark right through there. A little bit of blue and gray, and just put it on the ground, because they're throwing shadows from the sides. They're throwing shadows down onto the snow. Just get those nice shadows going in there behind them. Look at how they're all walking down there. Now, we didn't get anybody a nice green outfit. They have green outfits too. So let's give them some green outfits. I know I don't like green, but here we go. Well, they should have either all green or all red. This lady's wearing green and red. Okay. Let's make her red. That doesn't look weird. It looks weird. Okay, she's got green on. Hey Gigi, yeah, Gigi got me a job in Florida. So I go to the villages first, the third week, and the fourth week, the very last 3 days of January, I will be in St. Augustine, but actually on the island that's right outside of there. What is it called? Oh gosh, now I forget. Valina Beach? No, something V. Some beach over there on the island by St. Augustine. I will be there for 3 days to do a workshop that you can sign up for hopefully next week in my newsletter. I'm going to put in my newsletter, so I'll be doing that. So if you can't make the villages, you can also see me and make my class at near St. Augustine. Let's put some windows in here. I was also looking at pictures of the area. It looks really nice. Looks really beautiful. So we can get I'm gonna get some great shots from that area. It is an indoor studio. It's not a plein air workshop. It'll be inside, and I'll be using my TV that you can watch. And so yeah, that'll be the last week in January. The last 3 days in January, actually. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The last days in January. Thank you, Gigi, by the way, for arranging all that and letting me talk to the lady that was in charge. All right. Now let's go for our light posts. I'm going to get the light posts. So I put them in there in last because I want to kind of put them in and make sure that they're exactly where they're supposed to be. I want to have one that I have a light right there, and so I have this go down through here. Have it come out. Making kind of a little light post there. And then there's going to be another one right over here, which will be done in blue because it's farther back. And then when I do all the spattering and stuff, then I'm going to go back in and make that part a little bit lighter. This could be a light too. And then there's a post over here. Okay, let's see. Here's my... Now let's what was I just doing? Why did I pick this up for? There's a certain reason I picked this up. No, I don't remember what it was. Okay, it was really hard. I didn't clean this one brush really well, so maybe these trees make it a little bit darker. All right, let me show you how to spatter. And so what we're going to do is we are going to... Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Oh, now I remember. I'm going to take this blue and make these little signs way back there on this post. Make little post signs. Same thing over here. We'll just make little signs. Maybe this one can be red since it's up front. All right, let's go. Let's get crazy with this. I like to use a round brush, and there's so many ways of doing this with snow on things. And actually, let's get a little bit more snow in the. So to do the really dark pine needles in the snow up here, I forgot to do that. But I'm just going to go underneath the snow parts. The parts that are snow, just go underneath and show like the piles. So where it's coming in, you go underneath the light, and that's actually the middle tone that you go underneath here, and then you show what the snow is on top of. Basically, you're doing underneath. You're doing the dark underneath the snow pile. And I do this now because I'm covering up with snow, so I forgot that I should be doing this. And so let me really quickly put this in here. It's so much fun putting the snow in, and there's many different ways you can spatter. They even have these little round screens. You can rub it on, toothbrush. I'm just going to show you one way, my favorite way. Just take a big round brush, clean my palette out a little bit here. Get a piece of paper towel. I'm going to rub an area away from so I can go pure white. So I'm going to take, and you can maybe even put out pure pigment. You know, if your white is a little bit muddy or dirty. And the thing is, you can also spatter not white, but spatter like a light blue too, because if everything white, then it is sometimes the snowflakes are not that noticeable. So let me show you. I'll take a little bit of light blue with white, so that it has a little bit of light blue to it too. And I make it pretty wet. I take my other brush and I tap straight down. And it's really fine. The less water, the finer it's going to get. The more water you have in it, the thicker they're going to get. See how the snow's coming in? And this is mostly pure white, but I'm going to also use some light, let's do some light purple. Light purple too, that's always good to do. And how much is up to you. I want to do a lot because I really like that look of it, just really being crazily overly done. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to, like, they have these little spots up here of light, and so I'm going to take that and throw some water on there. But let me do that in a second. Let me just keep on spattering here. And spattering is also good, you know, when you're doing texture on rocks and such like that. So I usually do the tapping. I usually tap on my brushes. It's not the best thing to do if your brush, you know, you can split the paint, but you know, then get yourself something else if you don't want to split the. Oh my God! Look at this all over me. It's even on my glasses. Hey, it's part of the thing. It's part of the fun. Part of the fun. All right, now let's do the. You can also go back in and, like, if there's spots that you don't like it, you know, then go back in and take it away. You can also, if you want to make it really like a blizzard, you can go from the side. You can hit it from the side like this, and then you'll get streaks coming across. But it's not a blizzard. It's just a nice dusting. It's a nice dusting. Ooh, look at those big ones. See, it's really wet. My brush is really wet now, and so you're getting big ones. All right. Now, if there's too big or if you see there's too much, then you go back in there. All right, let me show you about like where some of these lights are. I'm just going to take my small, let's take a small brush, take some pure white, and then I'm going to do some of these lights in like where you can see the light through here. I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker like that, and I'm just going to wash it around there so it looks like the light is on. See how I just made it, make it look like the light's on? So I'm just taking white paint. And yes, there are probably other ways of doing this that don't use with white paint, but I like this look. And so I'm going to keep on doing it like with my white paint. Now I can't submit this to TWSA because you can't use white paint for that, but you can use it for a lot of other things. So here I'm doing little white lines, little white areas, and then I'm putting water around the outside of that to make it glow. See how it glows? Look at my gloves are all. I'm gonna have to do some cleaning up here after this one. Look at how nice that looks with you, just having things glow around. So don't be afraid of using, thick paint and gouache. And actually, this class I'm teaching in St. Augustine will be a watercolor plus gouache. And so you just have to bring the watercolor. I bring the gouache. I don't make you buy a bunch of gouache. I bring the gouache, but you have to bring your watercolor. And now I'm going in and getting these little light windows of thing, like in the windows and all kinds of little lights I can get in there. Like see the windows I can put inside the house and stuff. And now this part doesn't have enough snowflakes because it looks like if you're gonna do it up. Just. All right. Anybody see anything else they see on here? Let me look at it from the screen here. Hey, Abby, yeah, you usually paint and usually get it done. You're the first one that gets it done. So, it'll be great to see. This is a fun one, guys. And you really don't worry about mistakes because you're just going to cover up with white snow anyways, right? So have fun with this one. And look at my, I made the little telephone, but if you don't want to even put that in, that's fine. But I think it's kind of a neat thing to put in there. Or if you just want to make it like I don't know, something else. Maybe it was a garbage can or something. I'm not sure. But you can make it anything else. Maybe it's something else. But I kind of liked it there. Though that being that red, let's get that red somewhere else because that's almost too red right there. So I'm going to go in here and make one of these ladies have a real nice red coat on there. See, look at that. It kind of goes back in. And maybe this guy can have, she can have red muff there. Yeah, see, a little bit of that and no big deal. And maybe the sign can be also really bright red. Or the rooftop here again can be a little bit redder with the sign. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Let me take it away from the thing so you can see it a little bit better. That's one thing about not taping it down, you don't get the white edge. So I think what I'm going to do in the New Year's, I'm going to have myself a little mat that you can put in, or a frame to put in right away, right? Because we want you to be able to frame it right away. And we'll be doing a lot more on boards too. So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Have a wonderful Christmas. And I will actually see you right on Christmas Eve on Sunday morning, which is Christmas Eve. So if you're watching on Sunday morning, I'll wish you another Merry Christmas then too. All right. So until Sunday morning, we'll see you. Have fun on this one, guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Let me see if any last questions. Oh, any last questions?